Hello again. We're in the new year. Happy 2016 to everybody. Today, I want to talk about Inbox by Gmail. If you listen to some of my discussions before on the subject, you know that I've been, as I call it, cautiously optimistic on the subject because even though Inbox showed some really good possibilities and some very nice new functionality in terms of being able to manage email in a different way than Gmail does, and had some features that Gmail doesn't have, there were still plenty of features in Gmail that warranted using it in addition to using Inbox if you do like the new features of Inbox. And there were certain things in Inbox before that were absolutely inexcusable as far as I was concerned in terms of using it because the selection of messages and maintenance of them, or management of them, I should say, in terms of how I handle email, and I get quite a bit of email daily, was just not conducive to my normal operations. And so, without further ado, here, let me start screen sharing real quick here and show you how I typically handle email on a daily basis. Um, so what I do is when I come in, my usual Gmail interface. You've seen that before. What I typically do is I have a quick link called the unread inbox, and I click on it, and it goes ahead and shows me all of my unread messages, however many there are, and then I can quickly go through them. It doesn't matter if they're located in updated or primary and social, doesn't matter. It all bunches all the new messages going here, and I can quickly then select everything like that. And then once I select everything, I go through, and the messages that I like to keep or deal with, I deselect them because there's usually far fewer of those than of all the messages that are out there. And then when I get done, I click on delete, and everything that I don't want gets deleted, leaving only new messages that need to be dealt with. And then I just go message by message and do whatever I need to do with that. And in some cases, the new messages that I want to deal with, if I want to deal with them later, then in Gmail, I can always select a message and then go to the More pull down menu here and select Add to Tasks. And then it lets me add a task. And then I can click on the little, let me just minimize that, click on the little details icon on the right here, Edit Details. And then I can specify a date. And that way, that task winds up being on my calendar for that date, and I can add notes if I want. Usually I just leave it blank. So that way, when I go to my calendar, I'm able to see um, on certain days whatever I indicated, like over here, for example. I have a checkbox that indicates I need to do something, a task to do. Here's another one, and so on. And when I get done, I click on it, and uh, the task shows up like this is being done. And I can undo it if I want to. And actually, I need to do this today, so we'll put it. You can easily drag it like this to a different day. So it makes it very convenient to use Calendar in conjunction with Gmail, and then quickly clean up the list and be done with it. Uh, Throughout the day, that's normally the beginning of the day. Throughout the day, normally when I look at my messages, it's a hodgepodge of unread and read. So again, I can just quickly pull down this selection menu and then select unread. And now I'm only looking at my primary unread messages here, and I can also delete them or do whatever I want to do with them, archive them, things like that, depending what I want to do with them. Deselect the ones I want to leave alone, and take care of the rest. So this approach also works in a similar fashion. It's just my unread inbox is more convenient because it eliminates all the unread messages. I'm sorry, all the read messages that display, and only shows me things that are unread. So it makes it very convenient to quickly deal with. Because typically, if the message is read, then if it's there for some reason I haven't deleted it yet, means I want it there. But all the new stuff is what you typically want to deal with, and then deal with in some way so it becomes non-new anymore by moving into archive or being deleted or being handled or whatever you happen to be doing. So that's kind of a quick way, um, quick approach that I use to quickly deal with messages. Inbox created a challenge because in Inbox, even though you have a different display and a totally different approach, at the same time, you're essentially looking at the same messages. Um, you are looking at the same messages. And, oh, they changed the little icon here. That's cool. And over here also you have a combination. In my case, you have the conversations being combined. So like here an example of messages that have both unread and read. And if I scroll down here, you can see also it's a hodgepodge. You got some things that are unread, some things that are read. And so they don't have any selection of just pull down, for example, like I just showed you, where you just select just the unread messages. There's no way to do that from the interface here. And of course, same thing with the mobile. And the reason InBox works the way it does, they try to make them almost identical with mobile. They're not exactly identical, but close. Okay, so how do you accomplish the same thing? If I wanted to select all these messages right now that are, let's say, unread, look at all the unread. How do you do that? And they didn't have any way to do it. And another thing that was very irritating about the InBox is even if I select a bunch of messages, in the beginning, they didn't have any way to delete them without hitting the menu and then selecting the delete option, which in my case right now I changed it, so it's actually trash now. But it used to be that you have to actually select delete from a pull down menu. Then, or you can use the shift key with a pound sign, shift 3. That's a shortcut, keyboard shortcut to delete, which is what I used. But you have to select everything one message at a time, which is very time consuming, very annoying. So that's the main reason I didn't deal with or didn't use Inbox, was because even though it's nice to be able to click on the message, and it's nice to be able to pin it or snooze it and or mark it as done, and the bundles and everything was all nice. The problem was that I could not do my usual management of emails when I do it on a daily basis several times a day, using that simple approach of quickly selecting a bunch of stuff and then doing something with it, or quickly moving it to different place in terms of snoozing and things like that, or archiving them. And that's why the before I was saying don't jump onto Inbox too much. You still want to use Gmail. Well, since that time, they've changed some things. So one of the things that they've changed, which made a huge difference in this whole selection situation, is now they have ability where if I click on a message, and if I want to select, let's say, these messages here, all I have to do is click on the shift key and then click on the last message, and everything in between, as you can see, gets selected. Okay? So that's huge change, and it's a beautiful change. It's an excellent, excellent way to do it in terms of making the selection of messages. So that's one thing. And then, of course, you can also use, typically like when you do in Windows, you can push the control key and select additional messages. But in this case, the way they set it up is you don't have to push any control keys. You just simply select other messages by simply clicking on them. It does not deselect what you already selected, which is very handy. Okay. In addition to that, once you do that, you can still, let's say I click here on this message, and then I can shift click this one, and it's going to select from the last one I selected to the new one I selected. It's going to select everything in there, which makes it really, really convenient, very useful to be able to make these selections with a bunch of messages at a time. You click on one, you click on the last one in the deal, and it selects all of them. And then at that point in time, I would go and pull down the menu and select delete. Also, they later added ability to actually have the delete icon right here at the top, which is exactly what I wanted, because I don't want to be selecting any menu option or hitting keys necessarily. I just want to have the delete icon, and there it is. So I can delete all these messages in one fell swoop, which is really cool. And also I can mark them done. As you can see right there, I can mark all of them done. So essentially I have capability now to easily delete or mark down a bunch of messages and easily select them, which is wonderful. So that was the first thing that they've done. And then the last thing that I'd like to show you here, or the next thing I should say, is if I deselect all these messages, um, let's just do selected too many. So I got nothing selected. Deselect all of them. Good. Now what I can do also is I can use if you remember the example I showed in the Gmail, there was a quick link I called the unread inbox. And what that is, it actually is a search command that shows is : unread inbox, which means show me, select all the unread messages in the inbox. So if you select that, I'm sorry, it doesn't mean select, it means show me all the unread messages in the inbox. Now, if I say select everything, it will just select just the new messages, as you can see, because that's the only ones that show up, which is great. What you can do now in inbox is essentially do the same thing. If I type in the search string here, is unread in inbox, it'll do exactly the same thing like it does in Gmail. And so the beauty is, as you can see now, I don't have anything that has not been read yet. That has been read, I'm sorry. It's nothing but new messages. Okay? Nothing but new messages, just like doing, I was showing you in Gmail. So I got that part done. And now in the morning, all I have to do is click on the first one, and I can easily scroll down to the end. And then I can just shift click the last one, and now I have everything selected. So just like I did before on Gmail, I can now do, it's a little bit different in terms of selection, but very similar, because you just do 2 clicks and you're there. And now I can easily deselect any messages I want. I can select ranges again. I can deselect, do whatever I want. And now to delete all of these, all I have to do is click on delete button, and it's all moved to trash. And of course, if you move it, then it gives you a choice to undo it, so you can take it out. So the beauty of this approach, again, is that you can now easily select all the messages that are new and all the messages that are in the inbox, so you don't have to deal with other areas, such as trash and spam and other folders that you don't want to deal with normally. You usually want to deal with the inbox. And then once you select them all, you can quickly browse through them from top to bottom, deselect the ones that are, select them all by clicking on the first one and shift clicking on the last one, and then just go down the list and deselect the messages that you want to keep or do something with. And for the rest of them, you just click delete button and they're all gone, just like that. And then another thing you can do, which is really slick also, is you can do the archiving by clicking on done. So that's another thing. So you can delete, you can pin, you can do that. Also, what you can do is you can actually snooze them all until a certain date and time, which is very handy. One thing that you can do also is when you do snoozing, you can indicate the place, meaning you want the messages to show up when you're at a certain place, but it does not work on a desktop. It'll actually tell you, if you do that, you can only do a place snooze if you use a mobile version of inbox. So you can do it, but you have to do it on your phone if you're trying to snooze using a location, because desktops don't have GPS, so it makes perfect sense. But you can do these multiple operations these operations on multiple messages very easily with this new selection capability. And so what else you can do to take it one step further, which is what I did, was in one of the prior HOAs, I talked about bookmarks and how I got bookmarks set up, little icons here, very easy to go and pull up whatever you want to pull up, whichever app, including inbox. Well, since the search string is a unique string that goes right into URL, if you select this is unread in inbox search string, and notice that it keeps track of things you were looking for, and it's actually working both on mobile and on desktop, which is really slick. So if you select that, that's probably going to be the top one on your list if you use it a lot. You wait for it to come up with all the stuff here, and it'll show you all the messages. But the beauty here is, because it has a very unique URL, right? You can now bookmark this URL with this command up here, and this is what the command looks like. Let me make a copy of it and show you. Let me see here. Let's pull up the old notepad, and we'll stick it into the notepad, and we'll make it look a little bit bigger. And I'll show you here. Essentially, this is what the command looks like: https://inbox.google.com/u/0/search, and then slash, and then the actual command itself is shown using standard HTTP replacement, basically, of characters, where spaces become and colons become these special character. Like this means it's a, right here, it's the equivalent of a comma. I'm sorry, of a colon. And this here is the equivalent of a space. And then there is another colon. So it just translates it for you right here into compatible format here. So you don't have to worry about it. You can just type it in English. That's okay too. But that's the essential of the command. It's inbox.google.com/u/0/search. And then the same command that I put in is colon and red space in colon inbox. So if you bookmark that, take this command, bookmark it by sticking it on the bookmarks bar or wherever you want to bookmark it. That means you'll have access to all your new messages in your inbox at any point in time with a single click. So let me go ahead and I'll get rid of this. Hopefully you had enough time to grab this. And I'm going to go ahead and I already have set up a bookmark with this command, and I just called it, it's got a little inbox icon. I just put the text in there saying new. So I have regular inbox. It looks like this, and that just shows everything there that's old and new. As you can see, there's some unread messages, some read messages, varies basically, everything that I have. But then if I go and I click on this icon that has the word new on it, notice that it shows it to me one at a time, and it shows me nothing but new messages. It takes a few seconds to load. Just 1 second. There it goes. Not sure exactly why they have to repaint the screen twice, but I'm sure they have good reasons for it. And so now it's displaying it the second time, and now icons come up, and so it takes it, a few seconds basically here to come up. But the bottom line is I click on this new bookmark here, with the word new on it, one click, and then I just see nothing but my new messages, all of them on the same screen. And then at this point in time, once it actually loads and everything, then I can go ahead and say, take for example, these two, and then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and this, and this. So just kind of go down the list, and then there's a whole swath of stuff that I don't really care about. So I'm going to take from here down to, let's put it down here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a shift click. Now all of these are selected. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on delete. And now all of these messages are gone. Okay. So, but I'm still sitting on display of nothing but new messages. Now, if I go in here and say this particular message here, let's see what's a good message here. Let's say we take like this message here, for example. I can go ahead and say I want to snooze this thing until later today. So I click on that, and now it's snoozed till 6 p.m. tonight. And of course, you can also, as you can see on each message on the right here, you can pin it so it becomes pinned. So you can only look at pinned messages if that's what you're looking at. Or I can delete this message, or I can mark it done. The way to mark it done would be to select the menu and select done. Okay. And so in your case, you may not have the same exact display, but it will be similar. You just don't have the delete box. You have here the done, little checkbox indicating done. And for you to delete, you need to pull down the menu, select delete. That's the default. That's how it used to be. There was no way to delete messages right from here. I can go right here and click on delete, and the message is gone. So you can select them, one or more, and delete them from the top, or you can delete them individual ones this way, whatever you want. The reason mine shows delete and your may not is because of the settings. Because if I go to settings, let me pull up another tab here and go to inbox, and this is how you can change it to be exactly like I have it set up. If you like my functionality and how I do it, you can do the same thing on your end. So what you do is you click on the menu here, and then you scroll down to the bottom and you select settings. And under the other category, under settings other, there is new option now. It says when removing messages, I prefer to, and default is mark as done. This is what they had before. But the new capability now is called move to trash, which is exactly what I want to do. So when you're dealing with this thing by default, when you click on the delete icon, which right now it will be in my case delete icon, all these messages will be deleted. Okay, and so going back to this thing here, uh, I have all these different things here that I can easily delete by just selecting, shift selecting, individually selecting, all these different things of selections. And then when I get completely done with what I have here, I can go ahead and say either delete it or mark it done, meaning archive it with just a single click. And by default, the selection is that shows is to move it to trash as opposed to be archiving it. Now, when you're working on your phone, on your mobile application of InBox, then of course you can swipe stuff. And so when you swipe stuff, if you swipe it to the left, yeah, if you swipe it, let me just double check to make sure I tell you right. If you swipe it, if you look at the message and you're swiping it towards the right, then it'll delete it. If you made this change with the settings, then it'll delete the message. If you swipe it to the left with your finger moving to the left, it'll snooze it. So you can swipe it to the right to delete it. You can swipe it to the left to snooze it. And of course, if you have it set up to do, instead of doing this settings option to trash to be done, meaning archive, then that's what it's going to do on the mobile. If you swipe it to the left, it'll archive it. If you swipe it to the right, it'll snooze it. And so right here, I can do anything I want to do with one or multiple messages with these kind of selections. And having this delete capability, essentially I'm getting exactly the kind of management functionality I used to have with Gmail. And so now I can totally, and I do actually these days, use InBox for most of my email processing because a lot of management functions, such as snoozing, are not available as easily in Gmail. So it makes total sense to do it from here. I just go through the messages. These I mark as archive. These I mark for later, whatever, whenever I want to get to it, to show up again by snoozing them. And I delete everything else. It makes it really nice, makes it very easy to create an inbox with nothing in it. I don't actually practice that, but if you're the kind of person that does like inbox zero, then that's how you would do it. You just go through, select this is unread inbox, so you see nothing but new messages, handle them accordingly, so by the time you get done, there's nothing on display here, and then you're done. So very, very simple, very easy, and very convenient. So that's what I wanted to show about the new inbox and why at this point now they have enough features where you can actually definitely use it instead of Gmail if you want to as the main email client. The only reason I still don't say and don't recommend that you completely switch is because on the Gmail side, there's still some functionality that supersedes what Inbox can do. So we know that Inbox allows you to do the pinning, allows you to do the markdown, allows you to snooze stuff, which is wonderful. I mean, that's all great. But what it doesn't have things like quick links here. Remember, I had to set it up as a bookmark, where over here, I don't need to create another bookmark for any of these different functionalities. Like in my case, I can look at all my unread updates by clicking on this unread updates, and it will show me nothing but that. I can click on unread social, and now it shows me everything in social tab that's unread. I can also do the entire inbox if I want to, or do promotions. I have special things I do with Start to do. I guess I don't have any right now. I have forms responses, emails that deal with Google Forms and their responses. So that goes, I can easily pull those messages. So there's a lot of flexibility in having some of these frequently used commands using this quick links capability, which is not available in Inbox easily. You could set up a bunch of bookmarks in a folder perhaps to do the same thing because they all have unique URLs, but you cannot have it directly within the inbox. Another thing it doesn't have is calendaring. As you can see over here, I can see my calendar, my agenda of what's going on right now and what's going to be happening soon. And I have the calendar display. Don't have that on the inbox. Another thing that's very important, they use a lot, is being able to start phone conversations directly from Gmail. So if I click on phone calls, I have a ability to look at different people I can call, and I can just initiate a call or SMS message directly from this interface, directly from Gmail, something I cannot do from the inbox. The Hangouts I can do from the inbox because in the Hangouts you have here the display here of different people and stuff. You can actually start a chat conversation, hang out directly from there. So that's similar. But in terms of phone calls, you cannot, at this point, you cannot do phone calls directly from the inbox. And so, um, so with that being the case, I mean, those kind of the big things. There's some other things that are a little bit different, but for the most part, those are the biggest reasons why I would say that, and why I myself I'm not switching from Gmail to be 100% inbox. It's just simply because there are some features in Gmail that are still very, very useful and I use all the time. And so you end up having essentially running side by side, like I have here. As you can see, I have a tab open for inbox and I have a tab open for Gmail, and that way I'm able to jump between the two accordingly. We are looking always make sure for those who are looking at this first time, your inbox and your Gmail messages themselves are identical. Everything is synchronized and everything is the same. You're looking at the same data store. If I look at the message here on Gmail, for example, from let's see what would be a good message. I'm trying to find something here. Um, well, this message, for example, from 1103 from Kiwi, and if I go ahead and delete it, if I go to inbox, I can see that there was a message. Let me see here. This place of doing the inbox only. Let me just look at that and let me see if I can find this Kiwi's message real quick. Yeah, another thing that's kind of cool is that here everything shows up as conversations, and on my Gmail it's set up to be split out into various messages, separate messages, and so also allows you to have a little more flexibility. But here's the message from Kiwi. I have a bunch of them. As you can see, they're all kind of grouped together, and so there's one called Retail Pro. If I delete it here and it's gone, and I go to Gmail and refresh my screen, then so that comes up again, then you will see that message essentially is gone. So, and it synchronizes pretty quickly, so it's not going to be there anymore. You see right here it was 1103. It's gone now. So everything is synchronized. Everything is exactly identical, whether you use Gmail or whether you use Inbox. But having these different capabilities in these two different programs and using them accordingly, using each other for, I mean, using each for its own strength is very cool and very useful. And so I'd recommend you use both. Learn how to use the features of each program, and then use both of them. So until they put all the same functionality exactly into Inbox, at that point it wouldn't make any sense to switch. I mean, to use both. You'd want to switch to one and just use one. But for right now, because they do have different capabilities, I'd still recommend using both. But before, I would never say that use Inbox as your primary and then use Gmail just for this additional functionality. It was the other way around. Now, because of these features of Inbox, and they're very compelling features, and being able to do these selections and easy deletion, and being able to do this bookmark like this to quickly get to everything new, and multiple selections, deletions, and things like that, it's definitely ready for prime time in my view. And so definitely, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will finish at that. There was a couple more points I was going to make, but that's okay for now. That's good enough. So hopefully you're using Inbox by Gmail. If not, you can get it for free from Google. You can download the mobile app, which almost looks and works practically almost identical to the desktop version. And this is where there's a difference. Gmail mobile app is quite a bit different than the desktop version in terms of what it can do and how it looks and everything else. But the inbox is virtually identical. So if you know how to use one, except for the swiping part, you know how to use both. And the options and everything is totally compatible, and the email is completely compatible. And in terms of Gmail itself, because they're coming up with updates all the time, my feeling is that they're continuing with Gmail, even though the inbox is actually called Inbox by Gmail. meaning it's coming from the same team. So it almost looks like Google is not, on one hand, they're trying to have people try Inbox and switch to Inbox. You even have an option, they used to come up with these little messages saying that you can just completely switch to Inbox, and whenever you push email, it'll actually bring you up to Inbox of Gmail. That's one thing. Second thing, in the actual um, settings, there is an option that allows you to automatically redirect whenever you get to Gmail. It'll automatically redirect you to Inbox. So they have all these little things built in, and this encouragement clearly is in place to start using Inbox. But at the same time, I also see them coming out with new versions of Gmail on mobile, especially because you end up downloading new updates, new app. And so that tells me that they're not abandoning Gmail at all at this point anyway. They're continuing to improve it and continuing to work on it as they're continuing to improve and work on Inbox as well. So um, that's all for today. And next time we'll talk about, well, we'll find some other interesting topic. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good year. And until next time, bye bye.